Looks like it's 2:05 and the waiting room has slowed down, so we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks again to everybody for joining us. The session you're in right now, this is the Tennessee Department of Health and Arts and Business Council Pink and Pearl Campaign Call for Art information session. Don't try to say that 4 times fast. But we're super excited to have you here today. We have representatives both from the Arts and Business Council and the Tennessee Department of Health to kind of walk you through what this process is going to look like. I see some names in the room did participate in our Women's Health Week call for art. So some of this information may be redundant or you may have heard this before, but it's definitely a really great refresher if you're planning to participate in both calls. So my name is Jill McMillan Palm. I am the Executive Director of the Arts and Business Council of Greater Nashville. And I'll go around and actually kind of briefly introduce the other people here on the call and then let them talk about their respective organizations. But also from the Arts and Business Council, we have Jonathan Harwell-Dye, who is our program manager, and he'll be coming back later in the agenda to talk a little bit more specifically about the platform we're using for submissions in the submission process itself. And then we have 5 folks here from TDH with us. We have Elizabeth Berardi, Amy Chart, Rochelle Roberts, Dr. Denise Werner, and Liz Johnson. And they will be here to talk about what TDH does, the purpose of this call for art, and what they're looking for with this submission, and how we're partnering together to make this Pink and Pearl campaign happen. So if you're not familiar with the Arts and Business Council, we are a nonprofit here in Middle Tennessee that leverages and unites the unique resources of the arts and business communities to cultivate a thriving, sustainable, creative culture here in Tennessee. So what that means is we provide education, resources, all sorts of opportunities to individual artists and arts organizations, both nonprofit and for-profit, to help them sustain in this crazy economy that we have. So we do a lot of business training. We have a program called Volunteer Lawyers and Professionals for the Arts, which provides pro bono legal assistance to artists and arts organizations should you have any arts related legal matters. And we also do education seminars and other opportunities like this to help people learn the skills that are critical to succeeding in their creative careers. I see a lot of people in the kind of participant box that have been involved in some of our various programs like Periscope, Artist Entrepreneur Training, or even our program Arts Board Matching that gets business professionals on the boards of arts nonprofit organizations. So you can find out more about our organization if you're interested in learning about some of our other programs. You can visit us online. Our website is abcnashville.org. We'll drop that into the chat along with our general email address. Should you have any questions about our organization or about this call for art, you are more than welcome at any time to email our organization. We're super responsive and are happy to be in conversation with you about what you need to support your artistic journey. So please know that we are here as a resource for you. Stephanie, I neglected to mention, is also here from our organization. She's our incredible marketing and operations assistant who will typically be answering those info at emails. So she's a really handy person to know at our organization. But that's it for me right now. I will go ahead and toss it over to Elizabeth to talk a little bit more about TDH.
Hi, thank you. I'm Elizabeth Berardi. I serve as the program director for the Tennessee Breast and Cervical Screening Program. The Tennessee Department of Health is a state agency that provides an array of services, including primary care screenings and education to Tennesseans through local and metro health departments, as well as external partner vendors. That's an extremely condensed version of what we do. But if you have more questions, you can get more information at tn.gov/health. So I also wanted to point out a few of the other TDH team members. We have Rochelle Roberts, we have Amy Chart, we have Dr. Denise Werner, and we have Liz Johnson. So they are all part of the TDH team and are partnered together with this call for art for the Pink and Pearl campaign.
Awesome. Thanks, Elizabeth. So what we're going to be doing today, this could be very brief. We intend it to be an informal conversation to answer any questions that you all in attendance have about this Pink and Pearl campaign. So what we're going to be doing, just a little kind of high level overview of the agenda. We're going to talk about what Pink and Pearl is, and a little bit more about the nuances of kind of what we're looking for in this call for art. And then we'll dive more into the specifics about how you're submitting, what we're looking for, what exactly you're submitting, and the review process for these applications. So if at any point you have any questions about anything we're talking about or something that may come up in the future that you would like addressed, please feel free to drop those questions into the chat or raise your hand. Use kind of the hand emoji raise hand feature if you would like to unmute yourself and ask your question rather than dropping it into the chat. We're happy to handle that both ways, but know that the chat feature is available and we're monitoring it, and we'll elevate any questions that come through to get those answered, to make sure you have all of the information that you need. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and toss it back over to the TDH team to talk about what Pink and Pearl is. What does that mean? Why are we doing a Pink and Pearl campaign?
Yeah, so the Tennessee Pink and Pearl campaign is actually a 2-month-long observance for breast and lung cancers, created in partnership with the Tennessee Comprehensive Cancer Control Program, the Tennessee Breast and Cervical Screening Program, the Tennessee Cancer Registry, and the Tennessee Tobacco Use Prevention and Control Program. Again, one that you don't want to say 4 times fast. It takes place in October, which is National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and November, which is National Lung Cancer Awareness Month. The campaign colors are a reference to the awareness ribbon colors, with pink being for breast cancer and pearl being for lung cancer. This partnership created the Pink and Pearl campaign last year in 2020, following inspiration from Dr. Kim Sandler with Vanderbilt, who is continuously researching the impact of pairing breast and lung cancer screenings. So as we continue to grow this campaign, we plan to create a toolkit which will include messaging, flyers for events, educational and promotional materials, with the artwork from this call for art as the leading piece. With COVID still affecting how Tennesseans are completing basic screening, we're making an extra effort to increase awareness of these cancers and promote the return to screenings for early detection. So this artwork will help tie the efforts together and make a beautiful, cohesive advocacy campaign.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. So Pink and Pearl, really simply, to paraphrase what Elizabeth went through, is pink for breast cancer awareness and pearl for lung cancer awareness, happening in October and November. So the artwork will be the feature piece of the toolkits and the materials that this coalition of partners have put together around this advocacy campaign. So really we're looking for, in this, submissions that you are putting through, if you choose to participate in this call for art, ideas about how your work fits into those different types of modes in which the artwork will be used. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but just to kind of get you to start thinking about how your work or your personal experience relates to either of those advocacy issues is certainly a benefit when you're thinking of submitting for this proposal process. So Jonathan, we've kind of mentioned the proposal process a few times. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that will look like?
This is just a quick, high-level overview of the submission process for the Pink and Pearl Call for Art. So the first thing you should know is that the eligibility for this call for art is that we are looking for Tennessee-based artists to submit portfolios for consideration for the campaigns for breast and lung cancer awareness, and specifically looking for artists with a personal connection. We are encouraging any artist with a connection to either breast cancer or lung cancer, those issues and that awareness to apply. And so the portfolios are due in early May. So on my next slide, I have a rundown of the important dates that you should know. So the info session today will be followed by a portfolio submissions deadline on May 9th at 11:59 p.m. And the link to share your portfolios is there. What we ask for in this initial submission is a body of work and some information about you, your connection to these health issues, and any information you might want to share about what your proposal might look like. We're not asking for you to create a full proposal. We're not asking you to create new artwork with the portfolio submissions. We're just asking for you to share your body of work and talk about what your connection to these issues are and how you might imagine the artwork that you create being used to promote both breast cancer and lung cancer awareness. After we close the portfolio submissions, we will review portfolios, and on May 17th, we will select and invite 3 to 5 artists to submit full proposals. So out of however many artists apply, 3 to 5 artists will be selected. Each of those artists, once they complete their full proposal, will receive a $250 stipend. And so you are paid for the proposal process to be able to submit that. So we start with the wider call and then narrow down to those 3 to 5 artists. On June 6th, those proposals are due from the selected artists. And from that, a winning proposal will be selected and the artist will be notified on June 11th. And the artist who is selected will then have about 2 weeks to finish up the final artwork and to submit that artwork on June 25th. And that they will work collaboratively with the team at ABC and at the Tennessee Department of Health. We'll provide some feedback to make sure that everything is in order and appropriate for a statewide advocacy campaign by a government agency. Following the completion and the submission of the final artwork and the signed contract and all of that stuff, the winning artist will be paid an additional $2,250. So for the artist selected, the total prize will be $2,500, $250 paid for the submission for the proposal, and then $2,250 paid for the final artwork, which includes an unlimited license for that artwork for 3 years with an option to extend that lease to buy the artwork outright or to release the rights back to the artist. And then in October and November, Breast Cancer and Lung Cancer Awareness Month, the winning artist will be announced, the artwork will be released as part of those campaigns. And that's generally the outline for that. We now can really open it up to questions. And if anybody wants to put those in the chat, you can raise your hand, any of those things. But that's just the general high-level overview. And I'll go back to the slide with those dates, just so people can see that as we're discussing it.
So Marla, great question in the chat. So the $2,250 stipend for the winning artist is for that licensing rights for 3 years. So upon completion of the final artwork, you'll work with TDH to, refine that, make sure it's all good. And that stipend covers that time as well as the usage of the artwork. And the way the contract is currently written, at the end of that licensing period, the rights can revert back to the artist for use of that work. TDH can purchase it. It kind of leaves an open option for what happens to that artwork after the 3 years. But for 3 years, it is exclusive rights to TDH. D, great question. Open to all Tennessee-based artists. This is a statewide advocacy campaign. So artists from all across the state are open to apply. If you know other artists that are not here today that live outside of Davidson County, please tell them about this and encourage them to apply as well. We're certainly looking for a diversity of perspectives, geographic location, age, all of that stuff. We love to consider and would love to broaden the application pool in that way. Ooh, great question from Ayumi for TDH to consider. Does the committee want to see the color use of pink and pearl specifically, or use shapes like pearl to take it literally? How closely do you expect them to follow the project brief, or kind of what are those parameters?
So I think, and any of the TDH team, feel free to hop in, but I think we definitely want to see some pink and pearl in like the colors in the actual artwork. I think we're open, if there are coordinating or matching kind of colors, we're open to that. But we definitely want the pink and pearl in that, since that's kind of the whole basis of the campaign. As far as like shapes, I think we're definitely open to that, because I know we all have different kind of opinions with art and our own taste. So we're open to abstract, more literal, portrait type art. So I think that's a little bit more open, but definitely having that the use of the pink and pearl colors would be ideal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really important to highlight too, that we haven't really touched on yet, that this is open to visual artists in all mediums. We're not looking specifically for painting or for sculpture or anything, but Marla actually asks this question in the chat, the ways in which we are intending to use this work is more kind of flat printed pieces. So publications, posters, I know for Women's Health Week, there's a bookmark involved. So it's a little bit different. And I will say could change based on what's submitted in the proposal. So don't think about, as an artist, your personal connection to the brief and what your interpretation of that is, knowing that it is a pink and pearl campaign. Those colors are important to tie it to the larger advocacy campaign. But the reason we are putting out this call for art is to look for unique interpretations and compelling interpretations of the brief. We're not necessarily looking for a specific artwork. So if you are authentic in your proposal and portraying that to create a compelling piece, I think that's a really interesting way to look at it and not try to second guess what we're looking for, because we don't know. It could be anything. But yes, collage, it can be figurative, it can be abstract, it can be photography, it can be sky's the limit, craft, as long as it's able to be digitized and used in different assets. That is the most important kind of flexibility piece to the work.
Joe, I'm going to jump in 1 second. I want to mention, just to be clear, that the artwork will be used for the campaign. So, they are reproducing the artwork, but it does have to be original and new work. We ask you to submit your portfolios, but that is just to select the group that's going to be paid for the proposal. And so the actual finished work will have to be new work.
Thank you. Yes, that is very important. This is new work specifically for this advocacy campaign. All right. The chat is pretty quiet. Hopefully that means we did a really great job of previewing the campaign for you all. We're happy to stay on and will stay on should there be other questions, but wanted to give everybody the opportunity to sit on this information. Please do go look at the full call for art on Submittable. It's that abcnashville.submittable.com/submit. We'll drop that link in the chat as well, and you can find it on our website in a couple different places. It will be on our social media. If you're not following us on social media, please do so. That's typically where we, in our e-news and on social media, is where we break news and post opportunities. So that's a great way to find out about all of this stuff. You can also, like I mentioned, always email us with questions after the fact as well. This is a brand new initiative, actually. Marla, thank you for asking that question. So this is a brand new initiative and a new partnership that we are exploring with TDH, and it's been a two-pronged partnership. So we did a first call for art about 2 months ago for Women's Health Week, which actually is coming up in about 2 weeks, starting May 8th. On May 9th, on Mother's Day.
May 9th, there you go.
I was off by a day.
Okay.
It starts officially on May 9th.
Mhm.
I think I have May 8th in my head because that's my deadline for getting all of our paperwork in order, but officially launches on May 9th. So we'll be announcing the winner of that call for art at that time in conjunction with the launch of that campaign. So that was the first piece of this. And now this Pink and Pearl call for art is the second piece. And we are looking at, other ways in which we can do this type of opportunity for artists within TDH and other state departments, and really getting more opportunities out there for artists to get integrated into non-arts endeavors, which is really cool. And we're super enthusiastic that TDH is a pioneer in this space and getting really creative about the way that you're marketing and the way in which you're looking for ideas and being visionary in your support of artists. So I don't have a gauge on how many people applied for this call because we haven't done it before. We did have a lot of applications for Women's Health Week, which was a very difficult decision for sure for that committee. We'll talk about the committee a little bit. The folks that will be reviewing the proposals are made up of representatives from the Arts and Business Council and the Tennessee Department of Health, as well as some outside experts looking at artistic excellence and things like that. But ultimately, TDH knows the ins and outs of the allowances of a state department. So final adjudication rests with TDH.
Jill, did you share the resources that we provided for the Pink and Pearl?
Yes, great
Okay.
question. So the resources are linked on the submittable website. So that's why I was saying for those that are interested in applying, if you haven't looked yet already, the submittable platform will give you a full creative brief that is perhaps more detailed than we've gone into on this call itself. But we didn't want to read word for word the project brief, but the resources that we've created as guides are linked there as well. That will give you a little more information about kind of the specifics of the Pink and Pearl campaign. I think they list all of the partners involved in the coalition that were formed last year. So certainly more detail and kind of a recap of this info session on that full creative brief on Submittable. All right. Well, yes, thank you. I thought another question was going to pop up right as I started to talk, but we're right at, kind of 2:30. So I think we've covered a lot of ground in this half hour. Like I mentioned, all of us are here as a resource. Should you have questions that come up, contact us through our info@abcnashville.org email address. There's also an option to contact us through the Submittable platform if you're working on your application and have a question that comes up while you're in that platform. We check that too. And we are so grateful for your enthusiasm for this initiative and for the Tennessee Department of Health's partnership in this initiative. So we can, particularly, one of our goals is to get artists working again, since the pandemic has really kind of decimated people's livelihoods. And so we are so grateful that this comes at a great time, as now we're all starting to kind of look at what that new normal is. So really, really appreciate everyone involved. We'll stick around, for a couple minutes. If you have anything else, this will go up on our YouTube page later, probably tomorrow or later this week. But thanks for being here and have a really terrific rest of your day.